I'm out in this beautiful swamp tonight, and every time I show a video of myself in a spot like this, or even photos, I get at least one person saying, "Aren't you afraid of snakes and gators? You should be afraid of snakes and gators. What about the snakes? What about the gators?" And so I wanted to address those comments tonight in a video. So I've been to this spot many times before, and I've seen, at one time I saw at least 8 water moccasins in one evening out here wading around. And yet I know that if I were to wade back out here tonight, that would not be the most dangerous part of my evening. By far, statistically speaking, the most dangerous part of my evening was when I put my soft, fleshy body into a large, thousands of pounds metal vehicle and propelled myself down a road at 50 miles an hour, whizzing past other large, thousands of pounds metal vehicle. You know, that's actually dangerous. Driving in a car is actually dangerous. And this is backed up by statistics. I looked it up to make sure, because I know so many people are gonna say, well, my cousin's uncle got eaten by an alligator, etc. So I looked up how many people die in Florida from snake bites a year. We have 6 venomous snake species, and on average per year, we get 0 to 0.01 deaths per year from snake bites. So that's almost virtually none every year. And then I looked up how many people die from alligators, and I actually found out that since 1948, since we started recording, alligator attacks and alligator deaths caused by alligators, since 1948 there have only been about 450 alligator bites recorded. 450 since 1948, and of those 30 have been fatal. So 30 deaths since 1948. So that's very insignificant, especially with the amount of alligators that we have in Florida and the amount of interactions that humans have with alligators, especially in Central Florida, where there are a lot of holding ponds and the suburbs are encroaching upon alligator habitat, so quickly. So I also looked up how many people die in car accidents every year in Florida, and it's 3,500 people die in a car accident every year. And I think we can all see that in our lives. You very likely do not know someone who has died from a snake or an alligator or even any other wild animal. You more than likely know someone who's died or been gravely harmed by a vehicle on a road. And the most dangerous animal that I could run into out here would be a man. And of course, not all men, but even some men I know, I would not feel safe running into them alone in the woods. And that says a lot. And I think that is true too. That is statistically true. Now, of course, I don't want people to think that, you shouldn't be precautious. Obviously, you need to be careful when you're in natural areas, but in general, you just go by the golden rule, which is you don't do to animals what you wouldn't want to be done to yourself. And animals typically, gators and snakes, venomous snakes, will give you a warning if they don't like what you're doing. They give you a warning. Gators will do a little rush where they'll rush towards you to kind of scare you. And that's a warning. That's not like I'm coming to attack you. That's a warning. They don't want to risk their lives. They just want to survive and defend themselves. Same with snakes. Snakes will, rattle, or the water moccasins will open their mouth up wide, hence the common name cottonmouth. And they just want to warn you, because if they feel threatened, they have to defend themselves. So avoid trying to make them feel threatened. And most adult humans really have very little to worry about with either an alligator or a venomous snake. You should just be careful. You should be more cautious with children, with small children, or with small dogs. They're much more likely to be injured because they don't, know to look for those warning signs. And especially around areas, in suburban areas where there are a lot of people possibly fishing nearby or feeding alligators. That's when alligators actually really attack, is when they begin to associate humans with food, because people are throwing them their fish scraps, or they are actively feeding. So you never feed wildlife that just encourages negative and harmful interactions between humans and wildlife. Otherwise, you're like, you're pretty safe out in nature. One more thing I wanted to add as I'm driving home in my very dangerous vehicle is that, again, to give snakes and alligators and all wild animals the respect and space that we would also want. And we have to appreciate them for the roles that they play in our ecosystems because we need them. They're very important. So treat them with the kindness, respect that you would want to be treated with, that you would want them to treat you with, and you're going to be just fine. I wanted to make this video not just to dispel myths and fears of alligators and snakes, but also because I know that for me, when I'm going through a dark time, which seems to be a lot more often lately, and I don't think I'm alone in that, the only thing that helps me, that alleviates that suffering, is having these experiences in nature. It is, it's the only thing that soothes my soul. It brings me back into my body. I feel like a part of the world again and connected to the world again. And I'm also relieved of this burden of like having to do or accomplish something. I can just exist when I'm outside in the natural world. And it's well documented that our separation from nature is harming us, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. What I'm experiencing out there is a spiritual experience. And I think it's a necessary one that we are severely lacking, and we're feeling that suffering from this lack. And so everyone should get to experience it. And I think that at this point that we're at in our culture, we need to be reminded and empowered and feel safe doing that again, because we don't anymore. And we should, because we are safe out there. And so I really wanted to make this video mostly because I want people to have those experiences and to feel safe and to be reminded that we are not we're not separate from nature. We're a part of nature. We can be safe in it, and we belong there. And I hope that this video achieves that. I hope you feel safe and empowered to get outside.